All right, everybody, welcome back to the Adventure RX podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nick Anderson, physical therapist and owner of Pinpoint Physical Therapy down in Rocky River, Ohio. Today I have my friend and sort of previous patient, Matt Csuhran, who is a basketball teaching pro right now. He is a former basketball athlete at the John Carroll University and continues to play competitive ball himself currently. Matt, thank you so much for the time today. Let's get it rolling.
Let's go, brother. Appreciate you. Let's get
Of
it
course.
going,
Tell us
man. I'm
more
excited
about
to
what
be
you
here.
got going. Tell me what you got going on with your coaching right now. Give yourself a self plug here.
Yeah, I've been doing training on and off like 10 years now, and I'm a hooper at heart, so I'm probably training between 20 to 30 kids a week with Matt Csuhran Coaching LLC. I'm primarily in Brecksville, Ohio, but I literally go to like any gym in Cleveland. So, um, yeah, that's I just try to instill, confidence, good basketball skill work. It's primarily just basketball skills right now. But some of my high school kids, I try to get them in the weight room a little bit with me too. Um,
How'd
but
you how'd you get into that? How do you get into the coaching and the skills coaching?
Originally, I think I was 19, 18, 19. My best friend Robbie Hart got me into it. He trains a lot of NBA guys, and he's kind of got me to know some of those guys, but then also start running my own business. And I ran his business for a little bit. So we were like, it was called the Cleveland Basketball School back in the day. And we used to have like three, four locations around Cleveland, Ohio. So we would go to this one spot in Twinsburg. It was called the Edge. And I think we had close to like 80 kids. So I was kind of like, I think I was like a freshman or sophomore in college, and I was just thrown into the fire. Like I trained like 80 kids at one time by myself. Lost my voice within like 2 minutes, and then I realized I loved it.
Yeah, it's I think it's a great thing you got going there. You coach, anywhere from, little kids up to, the elite level players, correct?
Yes, sir. That keeps me on my toes. 8-year-olds all the way up to NBA or college, pro guys too.
When you're working with the young athletes, especially the kiddos, I'm sure some are self-motivated, but I would say, I don't know, you tell me, a lot are there because their parents are sending them to you. You know, what's one thing that maybe the parents and maybe the athletes, really misunderstand about, what is their skill development looking like? Like, what is the goal for training? Let's say if they're, you know, under 15, adolescents.
Yeah, under 15. It's actually funny you say that, dude. I was training at the Cavs facility with a couple of the Charge guys, Cavs guys, and then I head over to the Brecksville Rec Center with an 8-year-old, and I'm like
Yeah.
sitting there, and I'm like, had to flip the switch, right? I'm like, okay, his form, he's got to get his right hand underneath. He's kind of pushing it with two hands, and the dad was watching our session. He was like, dude, how do you do that? Like, how do you just go from like a pro guy to that? I was like, dude, just because I love it, like. And he was just telling me to work on his like trying to get under the ball more for his shot. So that's how for 8-year-olds all the way up to, yeah, I even have some high schoolers that really got to work on their form. So I just focus on the fundamentals, and the game's simple. You don't got to overcomplicate it. So I just kind of get those reps up with them, and I always tell kids like reps are moved out. Doesn't matter like if
I
you're
like that.
15 or you know what I'm saying? Like doesn't matter if you're 15 or you're my age, 30 years old. You know what I mean? I still have to get my reps up, and they start removing some of that doubt, brings confidence and all and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Do you struggle with athletes that you're working with buying in or, being consistent with what you're trying to coach them?
Say that again. Like consistent. You're saying
Yeah, especially with younger kids, like how do you work on their motivation? Is it a lot of self-motivation? Is it you kind of hyping them up? Like, because with me, with my patients, I teach them how to do whatever it is, the corrective movement, whatever the programming is. And then I expect, like, there's a certain amount of accountability I expect where you're not going to be with me for most of your week. You have an hour with me once a week, maybe 2 hours a week, right? So how do you motivate, especially the young kids, to kind of get after it and practice the skills that you're trying to teach them?
yeah, dude. I've That just brought me back how you've kind of yelled at me a couple times to stay on top of my stuff. When I've rehabbed with you or worked out with you. But I think you kind of like kind of like showing them how it is. Like I've said this a lot is that you would rather have consistency over intensity. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yep.
instead of like instead of like being intense all the time and trying to like, all right, I got to get better. I'm gonna work out 3 times today, right before
Hmm.
tryouts, and kind of cram it all in. Like no, like
Right.
just be consistent. Show up to our workouts, which are 1 or 2 times a week. Some of the more committed kids, they go like 3 to 5 times a week. But those kids, like, I try to relay that consistency piece to them because, like, I always say, like, these kids had tryouts. Like, today, I had like 2 kids tryouts today, and then I have more kids tryouts next week. So they're all like either like anxious or nervous,
Yeah.
and they're like
Yeah.
fifth graders, right? Like, they're trying to figure it out. And like, I'm like, dude, the nerves are a good thing, but I always tell them, I literally sit down with them. They'll go through like an intense 1 hour, hour 15 tops workout with me, and I'll just sit them down. I'll be like, bro, or if it's a girl, I'll be like, girl, like I always tell them 3 C's, and then I add an extra C. I'm like, if you remember these 3 C's when you hoop or before you hoop, and you're working out with the coach, or you feel a little anxious, like just remember confidence, consistency, and comfortability. And then the fourth one is compete, which you should always be doing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
tell them that, and
Well, I think,
they're like, you know what I mean? They figure it out.
yeah, I think those first three set you up to be able to compete, right?
100%. And it gets back to that consistency versus intensity. Like sometimes you just kind of need to relax and like trust your work. You know what I mean? Like trust the hard work you put in.
Yeah, I think doing a little bit is better than doing none, obviously. But also doing a little bit consistently is better than having like the roller coaster of like motivation where like New Year's resolutions, 99% of them fail because people set themselves up for failure. They go from not going to the gym to I need to go to the gym 7 days a week for an hour a day, and that's not sustainable, right? They do it for 2 weeks, and then the third week they fall off, and then the goal setting is not achievable. I try to do that with my patients too. I gauge based on where they at physically, where they at, psychologically, how much time are they putting into their fitness currently, and that gauges what is their home program going to look like. I'm not going to give someone that hasn't set foot in the gym in a decade, you know, 10 exercises to work on at the gym. They're just not going to do it. They're going to look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm sure that for you, I'm sure that varies too, based on someone that maybe they're a high schooler trying to get a college offer versus, like you're saying, a fifth grader trying to make the elementary school team.
Yeah, or a travel league team or whatever it is, CYO, rec. Like, dude, it applies to everything. Dude, I remember you would we would go like every Tuesday or every Friday for our sessions, and you would give me like 1 to 2 bite-sized pieces, right? Like it's like I'm gonna work on those. I'm gonna do those consistently, and like then the one workout you were rehabbing too, it's like you hopped into my workout. It's like that's what it's all about. It's like even when you don't want to, you still got to show up and be consistent. Put a little work in,
Yeah, for
you know?
sure. What was your time like working with the higher level guys at the charge? Because like you're saying, you really got to switch your brain from, okay, I'm working with professional athletes that are millionaires to, little Susie who's a sixth grader, learning how to shoot and dribble. So what was your time like? Tell us more about like what your role was with the charge, because that was such a great opportunity. And you know, how do you compare that to working with the kiddos?
Yeah, I still love the kiddos. I probably love the kiddos more, in my
Yeah,
opinion. It's between you and me. But I think the biggest thing I've learned from being with the Cleveland Charge and just within the Cavs organization is like the relationships you build. And like I've built so many friendships and just networking opportunities through that. And I think I was like a practice player, right? So like it's very like humbling. So you're like one day you're rebounding, you're shagging balls, and then the next day you're expected to hop in and like perform, and like, all right, if you don't
yeah,
perform, you're slowing down the practice, right? Um,
right.
but the biggest thing was the details, like just like, all right, if a dude's on the team, he's like our leading scorer. If he's struggling with his right left or his left right into a shot or like attacking the rim or defensively, right? In basketball, like those little details, especially at the pro level, those matter. Like those are everything. So the biggest thing is like helping them with those little details and then relying on your relationship with that player that you built, and sometimes there's a new player every week, so you just kind of have to kind of do it on the fly. But I love finding those little details, and then I'll realize in my brain, I'm like, oh, I'm using that little detail. I'm gonna be hard on this kid when I go back to Drexel Rec or the other rec center I go to. And I'm gonna apply the same thing. Like I'll be like, dude, I saw Donovan Mitchell work out. It's like whenever he misses short, this is actually pretty cool. I've never told you this, but I saw him working out and he does this one shooting drill where like if he misses the front rim, he's got to start over. Like if he misses short, and you got to make like three in a row at every spot, going all the way around. And if you miss short, you start over. So like he would like imagine there's like dynamite on the front rim. So I tell kids that, and the kids understand like, okay, all right, I keep missing short. I gotta figure out like, dude, stop missing short. You know what I mean? So even at the pro level, they're dumbing it down to that simple analogy. You know what I mean? Like, and that helps him get better. So I just think like I'm very grateful for that opportunity because I've learned so much and I'm only getting better. I didn't tell you this either. It's like I'm going to the training camp for the charge on Sunday. They start up.
Great.
So yeah, so all next week I'll be there in the morning helping out again and playing
Awesome.
and everything. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, the one story you told me, you came in and you said that you had to who was it? It was Max Struess was coming off injury, and you said you had to go practice with Struess later that day. That sounds pretty cool. And then you came in a couple days later, and you were all beat to hell. And I'm like, how'd it
You had to
go? And
fix me up.
you're like Max Struess is he's built different, man. He was dunking on me, just making every shot. But yeah, that was one funny story that stuck with me. Because those guys are, I mean, it's just they are built different. Like genetically, they're born to do that, right? Like it's just a different level of athlete. When you're training for yourself and working with these kids, you're on your feet all day. You mentioned before we got on using some cold plunging, and we do various dry needling and manual therapy. Um, what are your favorite things, or what would you give other athletes like the advice for keeping their bodies right as they're training? Because as you know, like every little percentile, especially as you move up in the ranks of sports, 1% difference can make, that's the difference between making a team or not, based on your performance. If it's just like fractions, right? Especially as you get up into high school, junior varsity, collegiate level, and semi-pro and pro. Um, any advice get to throw out for recovery tips or anyone looking for the edge with those modalities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm actually kind of shivering from my cold plunge too. I was telling you I'm sniffling and trying to drink some hot tea,
Yeah,
man. Tea's been a great modality for me actually, just to slow down and
yeah,
you know and just like breathe, honestly. My biggest thing is a lot of breath work recently. I'm always huffing and puffing when we do our dry needling sessions. When I'm with you, I'm just trying to focus on, slow down the breathing and kind of like release that muscle tightness or whatever it is. Because like you
sure.
said, I'm on my feet all day and I love it. I'm grateful I'm able to do it. And I'm healthy enough to do it. But you have to work on your body. Recovery is probably more important than the actual work sometimes because as we get older, I'm 30 now. Like I can't do the same things I was doing as a 19-year-old. But like if I knew what I knew now at 19, oh my gosh, some of those injuries could have been prevented and um, you wouldn't have to fix me up as much when we do our recovery sessions. But I think that ability to like do a hard thing, right? Like before our podcast today, I was like, I need to do a hard thing. Like I woke up this morning, I'm like, no, I'm like chilling too much. I need to do a hard thing. Let me go in the plunge real quick. Let me hop in a hot shower. That works good for me.
Hmm.
My favorite thing recently is stretching. So I foam roll and stretch every night, and then I do some type of movement in the morning. So like I probably look like a crazy person outside my house, but I'll be like doing up and down with my hands. I'll just try to move my body. And I always say motion is lotion. So like if a kid's kind of struggling with like a workout, I'm like, all right, just keep moving, don't think about it. And just kind of recover that way because you've talked about on some of your past podcasts that I've listened to, it's like for arthritis or anything that builds up is like movement is everything, and you feel better, you look better, and you talk better. I think the biggest thing recently for me is just like if I stay movement and then I take some time to meditate and pause and stretch, that combination is like that's the money ratio right there, the combination for me. So that's what I've been doing recently. And
Yeah,
then dry needling is probably my favorite. So thanks to you.
yeah, I love that. It's a good combo. Good combo. I certainly enjoy the needling sessions. If anyone listening has not tried the needling, it's not for everybody. It's very similar to acupuncture. I would say it's Western medicine's version of acupuncture, where we're using small needles. We're not injecting anything. They're just going after trigger points, going after muscle twitches, and it really helps boost blood flow, and it helps release some of that nervous system tension as well. Can be really nice if you're feeling a little bit beat up. Usually a little bit sore afterwards, like in a good way. So yeah, it's good stuff. Matt, what are some of the more common injuries that you see, working with your population? Is it, I would assume, ankle rolls, maybe some knee injuries, um, kids are a little more bendy, maybe not, see as many injuries with them. But what are you seeing out there in the youth? Because you're out there every day. And are parents willing to get their kids, help if it is like a chronic ankle issue?
Yeah, yeah, I'm in the trenches every day, man. With these
Yeah.
kids. I think some of these kids don't understand how big the weight room is, especially as they get older. And that kind of hinders them when they're coming back from an injury. I just had this girl for the last 6 to 8 months. She was coming back from a bad knee. I think she had ACL surgery in her right knee. And then I see a lot of ankle, like they're coming back from like either sprained ankle, or I had a recent one where she was coming back from dislocated ankle. It's kind of like what I did, I was telling you about in my ankle. But
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing in terms of like seeing these injuries and trying to help them get through it is start somewhere right at the beginning of the workout to wake up your nervous system and then start building your balance. Like the key in basketball or any sport is staying on balance, like yourself staying on balance and trying to get the other person off balance, right? So it's like if you could stay on balance, that balance is power. Like you can be explosive, you can be very skillful, like the skills that you're working on. But if you get off balance, then all the skills that we work on, like they go out the window, and then that injury starts, like your ankle, your knee, your shoulder, or whatever it is, starts hurting more. So I think just focusing on balance with kids, like I'll literally do like one leg balance stuff, and you got to shoot at the same time. And then I'll do like one leg balance stuff where you got to dribble, right? And I'll do those two and keep it simple, and then kind of progress up from there and getting more hard and more intense. But that's the biggest thing I see is like ankle, knee, shoulder. Trying to think else. What else? I've had like a couple girls that have had like concussions and stuff, but other than that, like yeah, that's what I see in basketball.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, like you said, the weight room is important. I don't know many athletes that I don't know if I know anyone now, especially that guys that are our age, that regret getting in the weight room. I think most wish they started earlier. One of the myths is that weight training is bad for kids, with the growth plates. That's incorrect. Research has not shown any danger of stunted growth or spine issues or growth plate issues. Obviously, under guidance with a strength and conditioning coach or personal trainer, lifting is very safe. It's relatively low impact, and research is very clear. I just read a study recently, systematic review looking across the spectrum, that strength is still the king for injury risk reduction. It's not stretching. It's not plyometrics. It's not dry needling. It is what is your baseline strength, right? That's number one. That's king. So yeah, any parents listening or any younger kids, reach out to your school's athletic trainer or the strength coaches. And look, you're not going to be, back squatting 300 pounds. Like, let's learn the fundamentals and, get in there. And like we're saying, as you're developing as an athlete, the fractions of differences between you and some of your competitors, long run is going to make a big difference.
Right. No, dude, you know what brought up right when you said that is right when we did our dry needling session, did all that stuff and felt some release. And then we got in the weight room, like you and me, and we did like those sled pushes, and we did some kettlebell stuff. It's like there's so much knowledge and research out there, and like if you go on YouTube, you can find like very beginner workouts. So like if you're a kid
Yeah.
listening, like
Yes.
just
A
go
lot of
go to the basics, right?
There's a
That's
lot
the
of
biggest
free
thing.
a lot of free material out there you can find too on YouTube. And you can do it at home too. Start with body weight squats, body weight lunges, planks, and push-ups. I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated, right?
That's dude, the biggest thing is if you can do your own body weight, you're gonna
Hmm.
feel so much more confident in yourself and strength wise. Like I, the strongest I've ever felt is when I could do 50 pull-ups, right? 5 sets of 10, and I could do 50 push-ups or 100 push-ups and 50 dips. If I could do that and some lunges and some squats, like that's a great workout. Like I'll do that once or twice a week still. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It doesn't have to be complicated. I agree. As you're working with these athletes, what are some traits that you see? Maybe it's physical, maybe it's more on the mental side of things that like that this kid has a good chance of being an impactful player on their team. Maybe it's making the varsity team, maybe it's playing further than that, but like what do you see in a kid that maybe it's motivation or drive, or maybe it's they're 6'10" and jacked, like what do you see as the main traits that you can really tell a kid's going to be a good player going forward?
That's a great question. You got some great questions today. All right. I would say recently at Brecksville, our program's been very good for boys and girls right now. And these two freshmen I've been working with for the last 4 or 5 years, these two, like, these are why I do what I do in training. Like, a lot of trainers, they'll just kind of do the cookie cutter. They'll try to be like an Instagram trainer. They're doing the crazy moves and everything. I just stay patient, do the fundamentals right, and we're going to find our routine and keep doing it. And these two kids are the epitome of that. Like, one's a freshman girl. She's going to play varsity this year, probably come off the bench. Um, and then the other kid is a freshman boy on the Brecksville high school team, and he'll probably start varsity. But the biggest thing is they're both super talented and they get it like that. But I see a level of locked inness in their eyes during a workout that I don't see from any other kid. You know what I mean? The ability to like block everything out and focus on the task at hand is huge. And like I always I try to mess around with kids, like just like how you mess around with me during our sessions. Like I'll be like, oh, you can't make if you don't get 9 out of 10 free throws right now, you owe me 50 push-ups. You know what I mean? And they freak out, they start locking in more, right? So like I just think challenging the kid and seeing how they progress and being patient is the big like that's it's so cool to see because they're in high school now and their bodies are changing. The one kid's 6'4", 6'5". Like if he gets his coordination down, he's gonna be special. Like and then the freshman girl too, she's so receptive, learning new stuff. It's really cool to see. But like those are two examples, but I have so many more, and I try to treat everybody the same way. But it's cool to like work out with those kids, because they want to get better. Like they want to get pushed. Like if I'm not hard on them, they're yelling at me, and I'm like, all right, but let's keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What's next, Coach Matt? That was too easy.
Oh, that's it. All right, I got something for you. All right, let's do it.
Yeah. I love it. How do you measure success as a coach? Is it kids making teams? Is it kids scoring points?
I would say whatever they're, so we set goals at the beginning of our sessions, like if it's like a eval or if it's just like I'm talking to the parent and they're like, all right, Johnny needs to work on this or she needs to work on this, right? Like whatever their goal is, I'm like, oh, that's your goal. Like you just wanna make the seventh grade team. No, like let's set the goal higher. You know what I mean? Let's set I want to start and average 5 to 10 points. Okay. And then we're gonna raise it up a little even more, right? The next session. It's like I think kids nowadays, they have dreams, but their dreams are too small. You know what I mean? So just kind of like raising the bar a little bit, and that makes them go that much harder. That makes them keep showing up and stay consistent, like we talked about before, and and kind of run their own race, right? You know what I mean? So like that's the biggest thing is like if we can set goals and start working towards those every week, I see them. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think success is measured differently, and it's something that as coaches ourselves, right, we have to navigate with each patient or with each client, because everyone has different motivation. Maybe just making the team is good enough for some kids. Like some of my patients, they just want to get out of pain, and that's it. They don't care about running a marathon or powerlifting. They just want to be able to pick up their kid without having shoulder pain. It can be as simple as that. And that's what makes it fun too. People are cool. People are different. Everyone has different motivations. Um, I would imagine same with you, working up, from the elites down to the little kids.
Yeah, man. Like it's just like us with our jobs, right? Like you're pretty cool, man. And you're pretty good at what you do. It's like I'm
Thank you.
gonna I'm gonna tell you like, all right, I want to work on this, and I can see your eyes light up. Like that's what it's all about. Like if a kid wants me to work on that, I ask him every session. I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you want to work on today? Like, do you need to work on your finishing or your shooting? And their eyes light up when I ask them that because they're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, for sure. I love when patients come to me with preconceived ideas of what they want to work on in a session. It makes my job a lot easier. And two, I know that you're bought into the process because you've been thinking about this. You've been mulling it over in your brain. Like, you know what you need. Like, tell me what you need. I think I know what you need, but I'm not you, right? I haven't lived your life the last week. So I love it when patient, if you're listening, if you're one of my patients, bring ideas, makes my job easier. I appreciate it.
Dude, that's so funny you say that. Like, remember as kids, like your parents would always be like, I can't read your mind. You know what I mean? I'll say that to kids. I'll be like, I can't read your mind. Like, bro, like, I'll ask them how was school today. Like, don't tell me all right, it was good. Like, no,
It
like,
was good.
it was
Yeah.
good. Like, no, like, tell me actually what's up. Like, did you struggle during science class? Were you falling asleep?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Here's a good one. My mom, instead of asking how was your day, she would ask, um, what is one interesting thing that happened today? Or what is one cool thing that happened today? So maybe you could bring that one to your kids.
Okay, I like that. I want to use that from Mama Nick. I got you, bro.
What is go-to advice for an athlete in the off season that is trying to become a better athlete? If you had to give a quick, like, few hitters on what is the most important, let's say summer vacation, they got 10 weeks. What should they work on before the fall comes?
Depending on the age, I would say definitely get in the weight room like 3 to 4 times a week, and then supplement that with on the court. So specifically to basketball or any sport, right? Whatever sport you're in, like you want to be doing that 4 to 5 times a week. And then obviously be a kid on the weekend, have fun, and recover, stretch, do that stuff. But get your work in. Like I always said growing up, is like I'm gonna work extremely hard throughout the week, and people know that I have fun and I want to hang out with my friends. I want to do these things, but the work comes first. So I'm gonna work harder than I play or hang out, right? So I would always say like within that 10 weeks, I've seen some kids in the summer make like especially this past summer, I can count 10 kids in my brain right now that have just made leaps and bounds in their game not just in basketball, but just mentally the mindset of,
Hmm.
all right, I can lock in and I can get better. And I think it starts in getting stronger as a human being in the weight room. And then the mindset of, all right, I'm going to show up at this time every week. I'm going to try to ask for more. You know what I mean? I'm gonna try to get an extra training session in if Coach Matt allows it. And I love that. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll fit you in if you're gonna ask that. But then, but then the biggest thing is like what you do with me. I always tell kids this, and you just said this at the beginning of the podcast. It's like I'm with these kids for an hour, 2 hours tops throughout the week, and it's like I would be doing a disservice if I didn't give them homework or tools and text them and stay on them throughout the rest of the week. And whenever they need something, I always tell them I'm there for them. So it's like I'll send them extra stuff. I'll send them stuff that we're working on, just like you do for me. It's like, and that gives them stuff to do on their own. You know what I mean? Like that gives them, all right, I'm stacking workouts. Like I see kids up there doing what I do with them every day throughout the week. I'm like, okay, he gets it. He's being consistent. And that's when I see these kids have great off seasons. Like they're in the gym, they're outside playing with their friends, they're doing something to get better every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Take advantage of the time when you have it, right? Especially in grade school, you have summer off. If you don't have a summer job or anything, yeah, take that time. Um, Last question, Matt. What is the most underrated skill in basketball? Is it mental? Is it visualization? Is it being 7 foot tall and being able to dunk? What do you think is the most underrated skill that you see in your athletes, or maybe even going up to the pro level with the Charge and the Cavs guys?
Wow, that's a great question. This is the final question.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. Wow. The
Good one.
biggest thing, um,
Most underrated skill.
most underrated. The most underrated skill for, especially for me, because I'm still trying to hoop and I see it in the pros and the kids, is the mindset of like they try to get in flow state. So like we didn't really talk about this. Like they try to get in flow state every time they're in the gym or during a workout or practice or game, right? So like I kind of try to teach this too, but like getting in flow state is limiting distractions. They're so locked in when they're there. Like the most underrated skill is, I think Kyrie said it recently, is like limiting distractions. And then when you're doing something, like you're 100% locked in. You know what I mean? And like that is lost nowadays because a lot of kids go to their phones. I have a rule like you can't go to your phone during the workout. And when you're so locked in, like I had it, you're from Jamestown, Ohio. So like I went and played pro for them during some workouts last year. And then I went to their workouts this year. And I got into a flow state that I've never had in my life. And it's because I showed up ready to go. You know what I mean? Like prepared. But like throughout that whole workout, I started working hard, found my second wind, and I didn't think about anything else. I was just so locked into the moment. You know what I mean? So like that is probably the most underrated skill. People don't think about that. You know what I mean? They just want to like, oh, I gotta drop 30 right now. It's like, no, bro, that can't happen. Like if you don't kind of just sit back sometimes. I'm gonna say this real quick, and I'll let you hop in, sorry, because I know you're a Jamestown guy. But I found myself telling dudes at the workout that were struggling, I go, bro, like sit back sometimes, and I call it SFT, like see, feel, trust. I actually write it on my shoes. Like
Okay.
sit back, stay locked in. If you are struggling, just see, feel, trust. See the hoop. And I've been a lot in my faith recently, but I say like see God, feel his presence, and trust his love. You know what I mean? Those three letters mean a lot for me, and they help me in those anxious moments. That's the most underrated skill, in my opinion.
I love that. I love that. And I think the flow state's an interesting idea, right? It's different, maybe a little bit different for everybody. Um, if you've never been an athlete at any level, you probably can't relate as much, but it's almost when you get into, you're not thinking, you're letting your subconscious play, right? It's all that repetition you've put in. Your anxiety is low, your stress levels are low, and you're just letting that subconscious motor patterns just take over, like stuff you've practiced over and over again. Um, it can be an interesting state to be in, right? Like I don't think it's easy for everyone to get into that state. You've seen, like guys in the NBA will get into those like heat check moments where they're just making everything.
Yeah,
It's like the
yeah,
basket's like the size of the ocean. Then they'll chuck one up from half court and like that'll go in. It's like that's just insane. And that's like the pinnacle, right, of like a flow state. And there's obviously levels to it, but yeah, I
dude,
think with like you're saying, any type of like mantras or um, self-reflection, meditation, or for me, it's visualization helps a lot. Where it's almost like looking at yourself from like a third eye view. I was just talking to one of my podcast episodes was with a X Games gold medalist. So he's at like the pinnacle of skiing, right? Like one of the best to ever do it. And they were saying that when he is visualizing a trick, maybe it's something new or he hasn't done in a while, he'll visualize it from his eyes. Like, what does it look like when he's like POV doing the actual trick? Maybe it's on a jump or something. And he's visualizing, like, what does it look like in his head when he's doing it? But then he'll also visualize it from like a third person view where the camera is looking down on him
that's
and looking
awesome.
like looking from externally, like how does it look that way? And I thought that was pretty interesting coming from, someone at that elite level.
Dude, that's huge. Dude, that's all. I'm gonna use that. It's like a third eye view. I think I call it like active dreaming. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, or like,
Yeah.
how people say manifesting, like
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
sit there and be still for a moment and picture what you want to happen. Or,
Yeah.
it's like a movie. You're the
Yeah.
star actor in that movie.
Hmm.
And that's how
Yeah.
you gotta
Yeah.
live
He
life
said he
sometimes. Yeah.
would, yeah, this guy was saying that he would not only visualize it, but he would think about like, what does it feel like? What does the wind feel like? The speed and the momentum. And it was just really interesting to hear that story.
Dude, that's so awesome because all those senses are huge, right? Like everybody thinks we only have five senses, but I read recently there's like we have like 33 senses, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so if you can visualize that and bring all the senses into it, you're only going to be more successful in whatever you're doing.
Exactly. Well, I think we had some really good advice for any of the athletes listening today. Matt, give us another shout out where you're at, where can we find you, and what is your business called?
Yep. So Matthew Csuhran, some people call me Scutch. Um, my business is called Matthew Csuhran Coaching LLC. I am out of Brecksville, Broadview Heights primarily, but I'll go anywhere in Cleveland or anywhere around the country. And my Instagram tags at Scutch_12. If you guys want to reach out and get some training or just chop it up, I'm always willing to talk to anybody that wants to get better and just keep growing.
Awesome. Well, anyone listening, Matt's one of the best. He takes his recovery and training very seriously. If anyone wants a good coach in Cleveland, definitely shout out Matt here. Matt, thank you so much for your time, man. This was a fun conversation, and we can totally do this again at some point. I had fun.
Yeah, man, let's hop on another one soon. I'll see you soon too.
All right, buddy. Have a good rest of your week. We'll see you soon.
All right, brother, you too.